What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I thought we would talk about a pretty important thing that happened today that, one or two, you're seeing it around, discussing film, tweeted it, but you're not really seeing, an impact, and I feel like that kind of tells you all you need to know about this story. So the extreme short of it is it's been admitted that a PR firm has actually paid off reviewers before. Now, they say it's for specific films, it's only a couple, and Rotten Tomatoes is appalled. They can't believe that something like this would ever happen to them, and they're taking strict measures to make sure that it'll never happen again. That's the short of it. The long of it, though, is what I want to get into in this video. This is something that we've all known has been happening for an extremely long time. Now, actually, the story here is it's for the past 5 years. This PR firm has been working in the background. Again, only on the movies that they're contracted with, so not everything out there. But all those times where the scores won't change at all, but there'll be thousands of user scores that'll come out, or critic scores. Sometimes the exact same thing will happen. Not thousands, but sometimes you'll get a couple dozen scores from critics and the average changes literally not at all. Remember when all those weird things happen? Or remember Star Wars, my go-to example with this situation. Remember The Last Jedi with Russian trolls, that it was Russian trolls that were going against the film? The point of this video is to say we've known that this has been happening forever, and they've denied it. And by they, I guess I just mean PR, the media, reviewers, Rotten Tomatoes, everybody, literally everybody. They've all denied it because it makes them obviously look really bad, and then it was just confirmed that happens. Now, you could say, sticking strictly to what we know, that, well, Alex, it's just a handful of films. It's just one PR company. So you're going to tell me that you don't think that that happens for, say, Marvel, say Disney with their endless amounts of money. You don't think they kind of have burner accounts here or there, or PR firms, offshoot accounts that go around and make sure scores are certain ways? You don't think that happens at all? Literally at all? Now that we know, confirmed that it does happen. Also, they called audience members stupid. That was a fun little quote. They said audiences are stupid. They don't scroll through the reviews to kind of verify them. Because what ends up happening is they go to either really, really obscure reviewers, or they sometimes will just make it up. Things, again, that we've talked about for a long time. But another thing I want to talk about in this video, I guess not necessarily Rotten Tomatoes and movie oriented, but does this affect other things? I feel like this is the floodgates kind of opening, and nobody really cares, or at least nobody's reporting on it, again, because it makes them look bad. And then maybe from the consumer side, maybe people don't care as much as I thought they would. I mean, the tweet's getting a lot of traction. I just kind of thought everybody would be talking about it, but maybe consumers already know. I've talked about for a long, long time, mainly about gaming scores, but I've said for movie scores as well. Rotten Tomatoes, holy dear God, please don't go based off the Rotten Tomatoes score. Whether it be, obviously the critic version, for the love of God, don't do that. But then the user score, I don't know. There's been so much stuff that's happened with user scores. And, again, they have their excuses. We have our excuses. But for me, as I've always said, just make your own opinion on, whatever. I think if I had to choose the more reliable reflection of opinion, it would actually be more like Metacritic, more gaming side. I feel like select games, Metacritic user scores or critic scores match or reflect what people think about it, at least way, way more than movies. I mean, how many movies do you know they'll have the 100, or not even movies? Let's take that back. Actually, recently, in the last couple of years, we've seen TV shows, so many TV shows, right? They get in the high 90s or get 100, and it has very, very few people watching it, or nobody cares, or the show is garbage, but it gets 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's not just movies, it's movies and TV. But how many can you come up with? I've long said, some of my favorite movies of all time are actually pretty low. They're in the 40s to 60s maybe on Rotten Tomatoes, some of my favorite films, because it is a thing. You look at, how many 100 scores, the idea of, well, what does the user score versus the critic score? And if it's more than a 2, then that's kind of alarming, when a show or a movie will get a 95 critically, and then it'll get a 32 user scores. Well, a couple things can be said there. Number one, I think the user scores is pretty accurate in that situation. Number two, how do you think that the critic score stayed so high when the show or movie or whatever was garbage? Well, it's probably because there were some shenanigans. Now, as I've said for gaming, I think some of it is not currency in terms of money. In fact, for game reviews, I think most of it is not currency, literal transactions of being paid off. Seemingly, it looks like in the movie and television industry, it literally is you need to pay these people off to write good reviews. So that's good to know that these people are sellouts, literal sellouts for cash, and that you shouldn't take any of them seriously. For gaming, I've long said, I think it's like the inclusion club. They want to be part of the club. They want to be invited to, and it is that same way for Hollywood. I mean, you want to talk to the stars. You want to have your little 10-minute interview with these people. Well, you got to play along. So maybe it's not money oriented, but hey, we're going to help you in some way, because if you can't talk to Tom Hanks this time, well, you're not going to make your ad revenue for your website, the Washington Post, or whatever it may be, right? So there is a transaction there. There's an exchange, but it's not necessarily we're gonna slide you $50 and then you're gonna give us a good score. It's more, well, we're gonna let you talk to people. We're gonna invite you to the early previews, because if you don't see the movie early and you see it the same day as everybody else, you're not important. None of you are important, and you're not going to stand out amongst everybody else. So you are going to be helped financially by doing this. Again, for gaming, I think it's like 95% that. For movies and television, I actually would have said I think it's mostly that. But because of this, and again, one final time, I know it's one PR firm, but this was the floodgates opening. This tells us that this stuff happens behind the scenes all the time, and this one got reported on. So how many don't get reported on? So I guess in this industry, the movie and television industry, there's some underground or under the table kind of sliding of some cash going back and forth between companies or PR firms, I guess, to not let the company's hands get dirty, of course, to just random reviewers who have now, if you're on that list, I don't even know if there is a list, but if there is one, if you're on it, you're in deep trouble. And again, this is why I just don't trust any of, or at least the large majority, don't trust most of these people. So there you go. Wanted to kind of get that off my chest. We've been right. I've been saying it, really, The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is what opened my eyes to the playing around with user scores, and not even, well, actually mostly when they're blaming the user scores on Russian bots. That's what like got me to think about Rotten Tomatoes. And then you look at critically and all the kind of shenanigans that happens there. It was really, for me, it was The Last Jedi that kind of opened my eyes to it. And ever since then, I've kind of been the same, like I'm saying the same stuff all the time, and I'm happy because I finally get proven right, I guess, on this one. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.